What's up guys, this is Ray and welcome to Asia Films, and today we talk about the 2010 South Korean film The Recipe. The Recipe was directed by Lee Seo-Goon and stars Ryoo Seung-Ryong and Lee Dong-Wook. Sorry, I have a hard time pronouncing Korean names. So the story of The Recipe, it starts off focusing on this criminal on death row. He's about to be executed, and as for his final words, he mentions that he would just love to taste some of that stew once again. And the stew that he's talking about is called doenjang jjigae, which is kind of a spicy soup made from bean paste. Forgive me if I'm getting the description wrong, but it kind of reminds me of miso in Japan, but it's a Korean take on it. But anyway, the words left by this death row inmate, it kind of intrigues this TV producer by the name of Choi, who's played by Ryoo Seung-Ryong. And he goes on to investigate because, everyone pretty much covers the execution of this inmate, but they want to try to come up with a different angle for their coverage, his TV station. And so he investigates on the meaning behind these words. What is this stew that this criminal is talking about? What did he have that makes it be the only thing that he can talk about before he's about to die? So Choi investigates, and it leads him to the discovery of this mysterious girl by the name of Hae-jin. And Hae-jin, she can make this spicy stew, and apparently those who try this stew are either entranced in a daze, or they just burst into happy tears. So that's the premise of The Recipe. I don't want to go much more into it because I don't know how much of it would be considered spoilers, but let's dive into the positives of The Recipe. First of all, I thought it was a genuinely good mystery. It was full of twists and turns along the way, all related to this recipe of this mysterious stew that Hae-jin can make. And Choi is the storyteller for us, but the one who's unraveling this mystery. And he has to go and visit soybean farmers, salt farmers, restaurant owners, just so anyone with a connection with Hae-jin, or at least with the process of making this stew. And the more he investigates, the kind of weird and wacky it gets when it comes to scientific explanations. They actually bring in a few scientists to talk about what's needed to make some high quality stew. I felt like this movie, as much as it was a mystery, it was also very educational. I don't know anything about doenjang, which is the kind of bean paste that is used as the base for this spicy stew. A lot of it immediately went over my head because they go into these different cooking terms, these different terms when it comes to preparing doenjang, and even scientific terms, which I'm not familiar with. And just hearing everyone's explanation, it seems like doenjang is really close to miso, as I mentioned earlier. In Japan, we have miso, which isn't used to make any kind of spicy soups. Where in Korea everything is spicy. Well, not everything, but a lot of the great foods in Korea are spicy. In Japan, spicy doesn't really exist. Anyways, despite all that, it's just interesting to be alongside Choi as he goes to talk to all these farmers about the process of making doenjang and just learning about the process altogether. And also, I thought Hae-jin was a genuinely intriguing character. I like the aura of mystery that the movie puts on her from the start. How many people can you say that when they make you cooking, you cry happy tears? That's the kind of premise that this movie starts up on, that her cooking can basically trap a criminal into stopping what they're doing and allow the police to arrest them. Well, he doesn't really allow the police to arrest him. It's more like the food gets him into so much of a trance that he becomes almost paralyzed while the police close in on this location and arrest him. And he doesn't even become self-aware until after he's in handcuffs and being escorted to the car. That's pretty extreme. I also enjoyed the shots of the countryside. As I mentioned, Choi has to go to all these farmers, and he has to go out of the city and into the country where these farmers live, and just seeing everything full of lush green environments. It was nice. And despite being a movie that starts off being about this mysterious girl who can cook up a mean pot of stew, this movie utilizes some pretty good special effects. How I mentioned earlier that the criminal, he gets caught by the police because he's so entranced with the pot of stew. When that happens, the environment around him starts to just slow down. He's eating at normal speed of everything from the rain, or was it snow? I can't remember. From the snow to the cops closing in on him, everything was in slow motion. That just goes to say that, you know, one, he's moving that spoon hella fast, he's eating it up, and at the same time you kind of lose sight of everything around you, and all you can think about is the stew. And you know, the special effects used really made that point clear. And I dig the progression of the story. It starts off as as a mystery story, and then kind of progresses to becoming that of a tragedy, a tragic drama. When Choi meets this dude by the name of Hyun-soo, who's played by Lee Dong-Wook, and Hyun-soo has this connection to Hae-jin that I won't go into, but once you learn about that connection, the story shifts gears a bit. And I want to transition that to a negative. I have to say, well, it's not really a negative. It's more like something I have mixed feelings about. I still don't know to this day if I consider it negative. And that is, I thought that the balance between Choi's story and how he's going around collecting testimonies and data, you know, that mystery story, and also Hae-jin's tragic backstory, the balance could have been handled a bit better, in my opinion. And the kind of mystery stories I genuinely enjoy are the ones where they reveal the kind of answers to the questions as the story goes along, you know, in small pieces here and there, not all at once. You know, they kind of do the small pieces here and there, but then they reveal everything in the final 35 minutes or so. And you know, I have mixed feelings about that, because the story that they reveal is actually really interesting. I thought, I was intrigued with it. I was engaged with it from the beginning to the end. However, I felt the way they could have handled it, the way they handled it could have been done a lot better, because yeah, I like my mystery stories to be answered in bits and pieces from beginning to end in kind of a more balanced presentation. And like I said, that's just kind of a mixed feeling I have with the way the story was told. But when it comes to a genuine negative, I have to say I felt that the ending was a bit anticlimactic. You know, after all that work, and that's the ending we got was this, you know, it was a bit of a bummer. But overall, I thought The Recipe was still an enjoyable film to watch. You know, I was genuinely intrigued by the mystery part of the story, and I was also genuinely intrigued by the tragic drama of the story. I thought the way that the balance, the way the two stories were presented could have been handled a lot better, but I was still genuinely engaged with the story from beginning to end. But overall, I think it's still a great watch, and it's definitely a movie I recommend to watch. But yes, those are my thoughts on The Recipe. What you guys think? What kind of questions you guys have? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow on Facebook and Twitter. And by all means, please support Asian Films on Patreon, because it definitely helps the channel a lot. And hey, did you know we started a Discord server so we can all come together and talk about Asian films? You can find an invite to the Discord link in the description area below. And yeah, that's about it for me, guys. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you all again in the next video. Take it easy.